If you look inside a seed, you'll find a tiny plant, and somehow it will grow to be a mighty oak so tall, or a blade of grass so small. That's the way that all plants grow.
Look, a glass house. Yeah, it's got glass walls. And a glass roof. That's called a greenhouse, isn't it, Jim?
That's right, it is a greenhouse. And in a few minutes, we're going to find out what's going on in there. Today, we're going to see that there are a lot more living things around us than we might have thought. Well, take a look around you here and see what kind of living things you can see.
Well, there are birds in the trees. Look, there's a squirrel over there. There's a butterfly over there. There's a dog over there.
Any other different kinds of life?
Well, there's us. We're alive.
Okay, you've named some different kinds of life, all right. But there's one kind you keep skipping over. I'll give you a hint. There's more of it here than any other kind.
There are lots of trees.
Okay, that's right.
And bushes and other plants. Are they alive? I don't think so. They can't move or anything.
Well, actually, Tony and Lamont were on the right track. See, the bushes, the trees, the flowers, the other plants, even the grass that we walk on, they're all alive.
They are?
Sure they are. Come on in the greenhouse and I'll show you. Okay, come on down here and let's look at some plants. Now, when we were outside, how did you know that the bird and the squirrel and the butterfly and the dog were alive? How can you tell when something's alive?
Well, living things grow and die.
That's right, and plants do that.
Living things breathe.
Okay, plants use air too.
Living things move.
Well, most plants don't walk around, but some plants do move. Look here, this is a Venus flytrap. Watch its leaves move.
Ooh,
Yeah.
look at that.
Whoa.
How'd you do that? How did it do that? Do you think it could eat your hand?
Well, that might be a little much. Now, what else do living things do?
Animals have babies.
That's right, and plants make more young plants, like these. They're called seedlings.
Living things need food.
They sure do, and plants use nutrients from soil, water, and air, like food.
I guess plants really are alive.
Right, plants and animals have all those things in common. But there are two other things that all living organisms have in common.
What are they?
Well, first, all living things are made up of cells, like tiny building blocks. They're so small you can't see them at all unless you look through a microscope. And second, all living things react to what's around them.
What do you mean by react?
Well, living things change what they do, how they behave, the way things around them change, like sun and shade and temperature and water and so on.
Animals react to those things.
They sure do, and so do plants. Some plants will grow away from the shade and toward the sun.
I've seen plants just shrivel up and die when they didn't get water. So both animals and plants need water.
That's right, both plants and animals are living. So, what do all living things, including animals and plants, have in common? What do all living things have in common? They grow and die. They need nutrients, that's their food, and air and water to live. They produce young. They are made up of cells. They react to what's around them.
Every living plant and animal, whatever shape or size, will react to its environment in ways we recognize. They will grow, they will die, they need water, food, and air. They are made of cells and produce their young, so we know that life is there.
Why is the house made of glass? Because it lets the sunlight in.
That's right. The glass lets the sunlight in to help the plants grow. You see, in a greenhouse like this, plants can grow all year round, even in the winter. Come on, let's go over to a work table. Okay, let's use this first work table right here. Come on in.
Okay. Are we going to see plants grow?
We sure are, and we're going to start right at the beginning. We're going to see how plants grow from seeds.
How do seeds turn into plants, Jim?
Well, they don't turn into plants. Actually, there's a tiny plant already inside the seed, and it germinates.
Germinate? What's that?
That's what we call it when seeds begin to grow. And when conditions are right, the seeds germinate. Now, here's a magnifying glass for each one of you. Take that one. Okay, here's one for you.
Look at that. Hey, this is neat. Yeah. This makes things look bigger. Look at my finger.
That's right, and we'll use the magnifying glass to get a good close look at some seeds. Now, I've been soaking these lima bean seeds in water for a few days to get them nice and soft. Here, each of you take one. And what we're going to do is we're going to peel the outside covering off the seed. All right, here's one for you, Tony. Now, let's peel off the outside protective cover of one. Just like that. Now, when you have yours off, open up your seed and take a look at it through your glass so you can get a good close look. Now see, there's a tiny plant inside. There's the root and there are the leaves. In fact, if you're very gentle, you can get the plant out and take an even closer look. Now use your magnifying glass and see the root and the leaf.
It's really little, isn't it?
It sure is. But when conditions are right, it will begin to grow. See on the monitor, this pea plant has germinated and is beginning to grow.
What makes a seed start to grow?
Well, that's why we're here today. Let's see if we can find out. We're going to start an experiment that will help us learn what seeds need to start to grow. Put your glasses down for a minute and come on over here.
Hey, there's pots on this table. Yeah, a lot of them.
That's right, and what we're going to do is we're going to plant some seeds in each one of these pots.
The pots have numbers on them.
That's right, and that's so we can remember what we did with each pot. Now let's put 3 seeds into each pot. Now if you want to, you can press down a little bit, but don't cover them all the way up with dirt. That's right. Leave a lot of space in between them. That way they have room to grow.
Why do we have to leave space?
Well, that way each seed has plenty of room to grow. Okay. Now, in groups 1, 3, and 4, we'll put a little bit of water, not too much. Watch how, oh, see, you found out how that works already, didn't you? See how that is? All right. Let's put a little water in each pot, number 1, number 3, and number 4.
You worked before them. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we put water in the number 2 pots?
Well, that's part of the experiment. We want to find out if water helps the seeds germinate. Now, group 1 and group 2 we'll leave here on the table where they can get plenty of sunlight. But group 3 and group 4 we'll put on a cart. Now, we'll do something a little different with these 2 groups. Group number 3 we'll put into this cabinet here where it's dark all the time. We line them right up here in front. We can come back and check on them later. Now, they've already had water, but in here they won't get any sunlight. Now, group number 4, we watered those too, remember? We'll put them in the dark as well. But this group we'll put into a refrigerator where the temperature is very cold. Now, like real scientists doing an experiment, we'll keep a chart so we can remember what we did with the seeds in each group of pots. Sarah, would you help me, please? Remember, the seeds in groups 1, 3, and 4 had water, so Sarah will mark the chart for us. Number 1 has water, and then group 3 also has water, and the pots in group 4. Remember, we watered those too. Now remember, the pots in group 2 had no water, so Sarah will mark the chart, no water for group 2. Okay, the pots in group number 1 were in the sunlight.
And at room temperature, too. Pots number 2 were in the sunlight. And they were at room temperature, too.
Group number 3.
They were in the dark. And at room temperature.
And group number 4.
In the dark and in the cold, too.
Okay, now what we'll do is come back in a few days and see which of our seeds have started to grow. Okay, come on.
That was cool.
I like that,
can't
huh?
wait to come back and see which one I did grow.
What conditions help a tiny seed begin to grow and grow? We can learn what helps them germinate by experimenting.
Number 1, wet with light. Number 2 has light but dry. Number 3 is wet but in the dark. And 4 is wet and cold.
Okay, is everybody here?
Yes.
Good. We waited 5 days. Now let's see what happened to those seeds we planted. What happened to the seeds in pots number 1?
There's plants in there.
That's right. How about pots number 2?
There's no plants in there. I guess the seeds didn't germinate.
That's right. The pots in group number 1 have plants. The pots in group number 2 don't. Now, what did we do to those seeds that was different? Let's take a look at the chart.
They're both left in the sunlight and the room temperature. But group number 1 had water. Well, group number 2 didn't have any water.
So, what's the lesson here?
Seeds need water to germinate.
That's right. Like all living things, seeds need water. Okay, now let's take a look at group number 3. Remember, that's the one that we watered and put into this dark cabinet at room temperature?
Look, there's plants growing in there, too. Don't plants need sunlight?
Well, you're right, Sarah. Plants do need sunlight to grow. But remember, when we planted these, they were just seeds. And seeds are usually planted under the soil where there is no sunlight. So they can start to germinate and grow above the ground, and that's when they need sunlight. Now let's see what happened to plants in group number 4, the ones we put in the dark in the refrigerator where it was cold.
There's no plants there.
No, I guess not. Some seeds do germinate in the cold, but most don't. But nothing happened with the bean seed that we watered and put in the refrigerator. So it was too cold for them. Let's finish our chart and see what we learned.
Okay.
All right, what happened with the pots in group 1 that had water, sunlight, and were at room temperature? Did those seeds germinate?
The seeds germinated.
Yes, they did. How about the pots in group 2? They had no water, were in the sunlight, and were at room temperature. Did they germinate?
No germination.
You're right again. How about the pots in group 3? We had given them water, kept them in the dark, and they were at room temperature. Did those seeds germinate?
The seeds germinated.
They certainly did. And how about group 4? They had water, were in the dark, cold temperatures. Did those seeds germinate for us?
No germination.
So, what have we learned about seed germination? What have we learned from our seed experiment? Seeds need water to germinate. Seeds can germinate in the dark, but the plants will not grow well. Seeds do not germinate when it is too cold.
Seeds with water in the light eventually start to grow. But without the water, though it's bright, it simply isn't so.
If they're wet, warm and dark, they still can germinate. But seeds with water in the cold
Will not germinate.
Where do seeds come from, Jim?
That's a good question. And probably the best way to answer it is to take a look at the 4 main parts of a plant. You see, when a seed germinates, the root goes down and the stem goes up. The roots absorb the water and nutrients. Then the water and nutrients travel up the stem and out to the leaves.
What do the leaves do?
Well, that's a good question. Anybody know?
No.
Well, the leaves use the sun's energy to make other nutrients or food for the plant.
What about the seeds? Where do they come from?
I'm getting to that, I promise. Now, the 4th major part of the plant is usually found growing on the stem, right here. It's the flower. Now, this one is small, but it's still a flower. And see these little buds right here? It's going to take a while, but they'll become flowers too. So what do you suppose flowers do for plants?
Look pretty. Smell pretty.
Well, many of them are very pretty, and some of them do smell nice, but that's not really their job. What flowers really do is help make more plants. See, the flower produces the plant's seeds.
Oh, so seeds come from flowers.
That's right. And when the flower gets older, the seeds fall out and get spread around. And inside the seed is what?
A little plant. That's how flowers make more plants.
Yeah, and the new plant grows up and has flowers.
And it gets seeds of its own.
Yep, and we call that the life cycle. What are the parts of a plant's life cycle? Seeds germinate and grow into plants. Leaves and flowers grow on plants. The flowers produce seeds. The seeds are scattered, germinate, and new plants grow.
Germination starts a chain of life we've come to know. For the tiny seed grows root and shoot, then leaves and flowers grow.
Flowers bloom and produce many tiny seeds, and then when the seeds are scattered, they will grow and the cycle starts again.
What happens to the old plants?
Well, over here is a plant that has already lived its life. See, inside here are the seeds getting ready to fall out. They'll be just like the ones we used in our experiment.
And is the plant almost dead now?
Well, almost. But it still goes on, doesn't it? Because it lives on in the plants that grow from its seeds. Now, plants have different lifetimes. Some live for only one season. Others live for many seasons. But they all make new plants, and the cycle goes on and on and on.
That's just like people and their babies.
And animals, too. Yep, plants are a lot like all the other living things. Come on, let's take a walk.
If you look inside a seed, you'll find a tiny plant, and somehow it will grow to be a mighty oak so tall, or a blade of grass so small. That's the way that all plants grow. That's the way that